Welcome to New York's number 2 sports show. The Rangers lose a tough one, 4-3 in overtime at the Ottawa Senators, a game in which they were leading 3-1 with under 10 minutes to go in the third period. And Ottawa makes it 3-2 on a goal that was scored just after a power play had expired for the Senators. And then with under 3 minutes left, Ottawa ties it up at 3, and then they win it in overtime. So the Rangers dropped to 31, 26, and 6. They are now 1 point behind Ottawa, and Ottawa has a game in hand. Rangers are tied in points with Columbus, and Columbus has a game in hand, and that is going to be a massive game tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden versus the Blue Jackets. But this is a tough one. This is basically a 3-point swing because the Rangers had this in their grasp to get 2 points, and Ottawa get none. And now the Rangers get 1, Ottawa gets 2. So again, that's very, very big as far as the standings are concerned. It's 2 games in a row now where the Rangers do blow a third period lead. And this one is really, really tough. I mean, I felt like Ottawa overall was the better team in this game. Igor Shesterkin was really brilliant through 2 periods. And then, he, kind of lets it get away from him as well down the stretch and, allows some goals that he'd probably want to have back. But really disappointing overall with the stakes in this game. This is the first game added to the trade deadline. Carson Soucy actually scored his first goal as a Ranger in his first game, and a very odd goal, a bad goal by Linus Ullmark, the Senator goalie that he allowed in the first period. But the Rangers, at least results-wise, for a while this season, had done pretty well in terms of protecting third period leads. That has not been the case lately. And so now that is 5 losses, only 1 in regulation, but 4 in overtime when leading after 2 periods. They had the regulation loss at Carolina, which was in November, and then they've had 4 in overtime where they led going into the third period and lost. And that was at Colorado, at Montreal, and then back-to-back here, home against Washington the other night, and then at Ottawa today. And the Rangers also, for what it's worth, they are not good in the 3-on-3. They're 1-6 in the 3-on-3, really bad. Whereas Ottawa's 8-3, so you kind of knew once it went to that, wasn't going to be good for the Rangers. And they've only played 1 shootout, ironically, against Columbus at home, which is the exact matchup tomorrow night. But some lineup changes for the Rangers. Chris Kreider comes back in, and look, if it were up to me, I'd rather him not be in the lineup. I know that he's going to be as long as he is healthy, whatever that is. His whole health thing has been a bit of a mystery to me this season, but Kreider was back in the lineup. And, just the thing is, he's not good enough, or you wouldn't want him to be in the top 6. And the way he plays isn't suited for bottom 6 play. Yes, he can kill penalties. And so therefore you think, okay, if he can do that, then he'd be responsible defensively. But it's really not the case. And so what really bothered me was Brett Berard was the healthy scratch. Why would he have been the one that was sat? You could have went in a couple different directions before him. And so I would hope and expect him to be in the lineup tomorrow. Really, for me, knowing that Kreider is going to be in the lineup, right? So really my first choice would be for Kreider to not be in the lineup, right? But knowing that that's not realistic, and as long as he is able to play, he will. I'd probably sit Parsonen. Haven't really been overly impressed with him. I understand they want to give him a look since he was a recent acquisition, but that would be the guy that I would sit. And I'm hoping that he's the one that does sit. Look, would it shock me if it was like Othman? No, it wouldn't, based on the fact that it was Berard. I think Othman's in the mix to be sat. But for me, it would be Parsonen. He took a bad penalty that essentially led, at 3-1, which essentially led to Ottawa making it 3-2. So that line was bad. I mean, even Sam Carrick, who's normally been very solid, he basically gets elevated to a third-line center role with Kreider and Parson. That line was awful. So I would switch that whole thing up. I'd be shocked if they came back with that in the Columbus game. Just a bad line. The other line was solid, honestly, and it has been. Brodzinski centering Othman and Rempe. So you can keep that if you want, although I think Carrick is better served in the fourth line. Here's the thing. You can't really move forward with your third and fourth line centers being Carrick and Brodzinski. Sure, one of them, Carrick being your fourth line center or even Brodzinski, that's fine. But that's where, I don't know. I'm not sure what the exact solution is. And could it eventually be moving Zibanejad back to center? I suppose it could be, although obviously he's been better playing on the wing. So not great as far as that's concerned. Um, as far as on defense, and again, very disappointing that Brett Berard was a healthy scratch. He really didn't deserve that. As far as the forwards, the defense, um, Calvin DeHaan was a healthy scratch, and Carson Soucy makes his debut with Zach Jones. So they stuck with Miller Borgen, stuck with Vakanainen and Schneider, who was, and I got to say it right out here, Braden Schneider was terrible in this game. Braden Schneider, I feel like I haven't been talking enough about him in a negative way. Has Braden Schneider really, really improved that much over time? Like, I generally like him, but like at the same time, I think to myself, sure, you could argue he hasn't always been given the best of opportunities, right? He was kind of buried behind Jacob Trouba, where it was kind of unfair in a way. You know what? Like, I'm just not seeing enough from him where it's like, um, he was really, really bad in this game, and to me was very, very responsible for that tying goal, and really didn't do a great job either on that second goal by Ottawa. So just want to say that right off the bat that I thought Braden Schneider was brutal, and it probably should be discussed more just how he hasn't really been that great, especially lately, but just his arc in general. I feel like he's not taking his game to the next level. And there's fault to go around, not just to him for that. But the third pair was Soucy with Zach Jones, and they were the clear third pair. They definitely played less than the others. I think with Soucy, they're going to work him in somewhat slowly. I thought he was fine. Again, he had that goal, which was a lucky one, but I thought he was okay. He wasn't bad. Played about 15 to 16 minutes, and Zach Jones was on his offside. I would leave that be for the Columbus game, although it wouldn't shock me if like DeHaan came in. The problem is, the Ranger power play was 0 for 2. The Zach Jones led power play is not great. And I don't even think I said this before on the Kreider front. Here's the fucked up thing on Kreider. He didn't even play in the first power play unit. So what are you doing? You're playing him on a third line role, which is more than he should be, and you're not even going to have him on the number one power play. That's like that. If anything, you want to like get the best value out of Kreider you can. That's what you do. So it just doesn't make any sense. But what I was going to say is Zach Jones leading the power play. As much as I like Zach Jones and his puck moving ability and the fact that he brings a different element, especially with that Adam Fox. No Fox in that power play is a major, major loss, and only 0 for 2. And I will say the second time they did get a lot of chances. The first chance was bad, but that all said, DeHaan more than likely will continue to be the healthy scratch. But don't be surprised, because I know that how this coaching staff feels about Zach Jones, where it could be a bit of a rotation between those two as far as who sits. And for now, Carson Soucy's on the third pair. I don't know that will last. The concern I have is that when Fox comes back, it might be Soucy with Fox. I don't love that. But we'll see. I still would prefer to go with Miller, Fox, Soucy, and Borgen, even though I know that Miller Borgen's had some success. Speaking of K'Andre Miller, the inconsistencies with him are maddening. Just a really, really bad turnover in overtime, which we'll get to. And it's the trials and tribulations of K'Andre Miller. And part of the reason why he still does not have a contract moving forward, where his future with the team is in question at the moment. So this was Igor Shesterkin versus Linus Ullmark in a matinee game in Ottawa. Rangers had won the previous two meetings against the Senators 2-1 and 5-0 at MSG. Those are two different games, though. The November 1st game, Igor just was great, and Ottawa deserved a better fate. The more recent one, the Rangers, it was one of their best. Honestly, I'll still say that was probably their best game they played this season. A 5-0 dominant, well-earned win. This one, it seemed like they were well on their way to taking 6 points to none against Ottawa, but it's not. It doesn't go that way. And Rangers, the first, really, Ottawa to me was the better team fairly consistently in this game, not by leaps and bounds, but in the first period, Ottawa definitely deserved better. They outshot the Rangers 12-9, and really Igor outplayed Ullmark in a major, major way. Igor made a lot of really good saves, and Ullmark made a really bad goal. So at 157, Sam Carrick elbows Travis Hamonic, and Carrick had been better lately because Carrick was taking penalties, if you remember, for a while. And I felt like he kind of cleaned that act up. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on, because Carrick, and it's part of his style of play, but still, you want to stay out of the box. But the Rangers kill it off. The Rangers penalty kill, again, did a very good job, despite the fact that that second goal was essentially a power play goal, but they really did well. And then the Rangers take the lead at 8:37 of the first. It is Carson Soucy scoring his fourth goal of the season, first as a Ranger from Panarin and Trocheck. Again, a very innocent shot by Carson Soucy that appeared to be stopped by Ullmark. They actually blew the whistle. However, upon review, it ends up trickling past Ullmark and in. So that counts as a good goal, because basically the whistle didn't like change anything. It didn't, which is a good rule. It's a continuation play, and the puck just somehow goes over the line. So a fortunate Ranger goal, and for Soucy, who would have thought, he's not known for offense, scores a goal just like that. And the Rangers take a 1-0 lead. And then at 15:11, Ridley Gregg slashes Vincent Trocheck, a bad Ranger power play. And then not too far after that, Carson Soucy roughs Brady Tkachuk at 17:58. It was a bit of a high hit, but the Ranger penalty kill does the job and kills off the penalty. And so it's 1-0 Rangers after 1, which probably shouldn't have been. But, a fortunate result. They'll take it. We go to the second period, and the Rangers take a 2-0 lead. At 3:55, it's Mika Zibanejad, the former Ottawa Senator, scoring his 14th goal of the season from JT Miller and Will Cooley. So this line gets on the board. And it was just a nice play. I think out of the zone, it might have been Vakanainen rims it around to Cooley in the neutral zone, and then Cooley with a drop pass to JT Miller. Miller goes to the middle of the ice and finds a streaking Zibanejad, who takes a shot and scores. Again, Mika's got to shoot more. He really has to. He's got a good shot when he's got some time, and it makes it 2-0 Rangers. However, Ottawa with a very, very, very quick response at 11 seconds after the Zibanejad goal. You can't have that. And that kind of happened as well with the second Ottawa goal, and we'll discuss it when we get there. But another goal off of a faceoff. We've seen that the last few games. Rangers are kind of getting bodied and out-physicaled, if you will, off of these faceoffs. And it was the Carrick line that was out there with Kreider and Parsonen, Zach Jones, and Soucy as well. And Ottawa gets control of the faceoff. Jensen takes an innocent shot from the point, and Brady Tkachuk basically just gets positioning and tips it in. To me, though, it was still a little bit disappointing for Igor, because it trickled through him. So again, there was an opportunity to make that stop. So again, it's a little bit of halfway blame to Igor, but also it was, Brady Tkachuk with a nice deflection as well. Give credit where it's due. But Tkachuk really got positioning on Parsonen mainly. Zach Jones was in the area, but I'm going to blame this more on Parsonen as well. And we've seen this the last couple of games. That's not good. It's a bad trend. And so that 2-goal lead is quickly gone. It's back to a 1-goal lead at 2-1. Then from there at 8:47, Braden Schneider hooks Tim Stützle. Rangers kill it off.
I don't know.
At 12:19, another penalty drawn by Vincent Trocheck. It's Zub, the defenseman, who trips him. But the Rangers probably doesn't score. They got a lot of chances, though. They did on that one. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. And then the Rangers do it a fucking again. At the 20-minute mark, at the end of the second period, they're called for 2 men on the ice. In a ridiculous situation to have done so. Basically, the period was just ending. Nothing was going on. Ottawa had the puck behind the net. It was over, and 6 Rangers are on the ice. It's just time and time and time again. And that's where it's a bad look on Laviolette. It really, really is. Get your players in check. I mean, it's bad all the way around, but I feel like, I've kind of at times, not been critical of Laviolette. That's bad. That's a bench minor. That cannot happen. Maybe it's one of the maybe it's, someone else. Maybe it's a Phil Housley. Maybe, who knows why this is happening, but it's just unacceptable. Luckily, though, the Rangers do kill it off to start the third period. And then really what should have been the key goal to kind of put the Rangers over the top, Artemi Panarin scores his 27th goal of the season, assisted by Brodzinski and Keandre Miller at 7:08 of the third. And this was a nice heads-up play by Brodzinski to find Panarin, who replaced Othman. Othman left. His shift was over, but Rempe and Brodzinski were still on. So Panarin hops on the ice, and he has a lot of room on the left side. And he takes a really nice snapshot over the glove side of Omar to give the Rangers a 3-1 lead. But before you can even get to the TV timeout after that, the Rangers take a penalty, and it's Juuso Parson that hooks Dylan Cousins, the new Ottawa center. He was just traded yesterday from the Buffalo Sabres for Josh Norris, and others were involved in that deal as well. So a bad penalty by Parson. You wanted to get to that stoppage with a 2-goal lead and no penalty, but that doesn't happen. And to make matters worse, it was a tease because just as the penalty expires, Ridley Gregg scores his 10th goal of the season from Cousins and Shabbat at 10:16 to make it 3-2. This is a massive goal. And this is where, you have Zibanejad and Kreider up top, and Kreider just can't move. It's just frustrating to watch. But he's not a huge – he's really – he's not to blame for this. It's more Igor couldn't, get the puck clean off of the Shabbat shot. Igor really could have maybe stopped it clean, but there was too much action going on in front, and Ottawa was dominating the net front on the Rangers. That was the theme of this game. And luckily for the Rangers, Dylan Cousins' initial shot hit the post, but Ridley Gregg was right there to bury it in. It was basically like 3-on-1 in front, and Braden Schneider just didn't do a good enough job of boxing out and getting physical in front of Igor Shesterkin, and it made it 3-2. So that was a problem. And then Ottawa's pressing and pushing, and you could feel like something was going to come. I was just hoping to get to the point of a goalie pull, and we never got there. Not to say the Rangers would have survived that, but at least when that happens, many times you kind of get the lucky empty net goal where a team pulls their goalie too soon. You take an innocent shot down the ice, and it goes in. We don't even get to that point, though, as Mike Amadio scores his 7th goal of the season from David Perron at 17:08. And this one was, to me, particularly brutal by Schneider, but as well the Trocheck line, where really all three of them, Lafreniere doing a terrible job as far as just like kind of, again, no body checks, all looking around, all waving their stick in a crucial part of the game. Braden Schneider whiffs on the puck. Then he tries to basically like get it away from the net, but he gives it right to Amadio. Igor tries to glove it, misses it, and Amadio scores in front. Just a terrible job by the Rangers there all the way around, and it's a 3-3 game. Then the Rangers do push at the end of regulation, and it was that Panarin line. And look, at least with Panarin lately, as much as his game frustrates me at times, he's been producing a lot. He gets a goal and an assist in this game. Like, he's been a lot better lately. But again, like Lafreniere, like it's not even close to good enough for him. It's really, really disturbing, quite frankly. And again, Vincent Trocheck, this has been a much worse season for Vincent Trocheck than last year. As much as I like him and as much as, he has so much value in terms of his versatility, like it's just, it's not good. But that line did a nice job in the regulation, but they were unable to score. How big would that have been? The Rangers had this. I mean, the Rangers could have had 2 points out of it, none. Instead, we go to overtime against a Senator team that's a lot better than the Rangers in a 3-on-3. They start out with JT Miller, Zibanejad, and Keandre Miller. And Zibanejad hops off pretty quickly for Panarin, I think is what the switch was. And Keandre Miller, it's people are going to blame Keandre, and I'm going to as well, but JT Miller deserves blame as well. The Miller connection goes wrong as Keandre tries to make a pass to JT Miller, who wasn't really paying attention or expecting it. Keandre should have been a little bit more patient with it, especially for the fact that Mika just changed. Panarin wasn't quite settled yet. Keandre would have been wise to just hold it. Instead, he makes a quick pass, and JT Miller wasn't ready for it. And now it's a turnover, and it goes to Tim Stützle. JT Miller, though, does a really sort of poor job, like getting back into it. Kind of a lazy sort of way of going about it that maybe he could have prevented something there. Again, boneheaded move by Keandre, but JT didn't help matters. Again, with Keandre Miller, it's just this is what it is with him. The bad IQ cannot escape him. It just can't. And so Stützle finds Brady Tkachuk, who already scored earlier, who is such a fucking force. If he becomes a Ranger one day, that would be great. Hopefully sooner than later. I mean, but I don't know. I like, if you're Ottawa, you're trying to hold on to him for dear life. But, this guy is an absolute force and very, very impressive. And he takes a shot that goes through Igor. I don't know if it was deflected by Keandre Miller. I don't believe it was. Either way, that's got to be stopped. That cannot go through you in that moment, and it does. And so Brady Tkachuk's the hero, and Ottawa wins 4-3. Another, at least the loss versus Washington. Okay, at least that one You're not competing with Washington. So them getting the 2 points is not as big a deal. This was very, very, very big as far as the standings and sets the stage for me for an absolutely gigantic game with Columbus. With the result of this game being what it was, if you can somehow at least, if you can beat Columbus in regulation, let's say, that goes a long, long way. And really for me at that point, it really would be a successful weekend, results wise. Like, because the Rangers did get a point. It doesn't feel good at all. They missed the crucial second point, and you gave prime competition too. So believe me, this has a major effect. However, you can flip that narrative very quickly, or you can make it worse, or you can perpetuate this, and then you're really looking back at this Ottawa loss in a bad, bad way. Columbus's situation is they were really hot, but then they ran into the Florida teams, Tampa and Florida, and they got beat pretty soundly. They're going to be a lot more well rested and fresh. The Rangers, are going to be in a back-to-back situation. I tend to believe that Igor will be. I think they're going to have him go again. That's my guess, and and you could say it's a little bit of a bold prediction, only because typically when it's a back-to-back, they'll split it with Quick, and Quick did. I think Quick did well his last outing, if memory serves me correct, against Nashville. But I think in this game, I think it's Shesterkin. That would be my prediction. And then I think Brett Borg comes back in there. And who does he come back in for? It'll either be Parsonen or Othman. I really hope it's Parsonen. I really, really hope that's what it is. But we'll see what happens. Again, Kreider coming back in there, it just doesn't really have the effect you want. It's kind of, it kind of hurts the team, especially if you're not going to use them on the power play. It's just, what are we doing exactly? So a really, really tough loss. One that I'll give you more of a feel after tomorrow's game against Columbus, right? Like, kind of tempering it for now, because again, if you can get that win, especially in regulation, really goes a long, long way. It doesn't take away how bad this was, but it's kind of a wait and see. This is, it's kind of a package deal. There's a huge back-to-back, and if you can beat Columbus, at least for the standings. Look, this team's got the Rangers got a lot of issues, right? Like, I think we know that. I'm talking about it more from a standings perspective. So a quick trip back to Madison Square Garden in what will be a very pivotal game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they'll have to lick their wounds after a tough overtime loss. They lose in Ottawa to the Senators by a score of 4-3.